Just saying, I want to implement AI into your business, you're going to get sales right out the gate because no one else is really trying to help the small business on AI. Just leave the tools there because there's no cost to me. Walk to the next business. My hit rate was over 85, 90% walking into a local business.
How much are your biggest SaaSpreneurs making per month?
Definitely high 8 figures. We heard one that's getting into the 9-figure range.
One big customer that could change your life. I would go find a franchisee customer that's part of a small franchisor, like 30, 40 locations, crush it for them, and then get everyone. High Level comes up a lot on this podcast, and for good reason. High Level has over 100,000 customers, and most of those customers they call SaaSpreneurs, which is basically just a guy running a marketing agency. And that marketing agency is entirely built on and powered by High Level. You want to do automated text back, an automated voice answering service, cold emailing agency, website agency, anything you want. You can build it all on top of High Level. And so instead of talking to someone that's built a business on High Level, I wanted to peel back the curtain and talk to the guy that built High Level, that sees from the inside who is having the most success on High Level and what are they building? What types of businesses should you be building on High Level where you're most likely to have the most success? And so I had one of the co-founders on, Rob and Alex, and I asked them all these questions. So whether you already own a business and want to seamlessly integrate AI or just a cheaper CRM, or you want to start a business that can charge between $500 and $5,000 a month to small business owners, you're going to love this episode.
High Level is an all-in-one AI CRM platform and a lot beyond that. So we've basically taken everything to help grow a business from top of funnel down to lead management, down to operational things, from automations, connecting to other software applications that you use for your business, down to like sending invoices and managing your finances and stuff like that. So we're trying to take over the world as far as what businesses need. But what we're known for many is like being the CRM automations platform.
It's a Zapier that is more fit for small businesses and or marketing agencies. That's kind of one aspect of it, right?
Yeah, exactly. So the way that we started, I come from a marketing agency background as well as entrepreneurship and stuff. I've had many businesses over time. But prior to High Level, I was actually running a marketing agency. And what I would do is go into small businesses and do the traditional marketing, like, oh, we're coming in, we're running Facebook ads or Google ads or whatever, we're driving you leads. And the problem that I would have is after a couple of months, the business owner is like, what do I do with this? Like, you gave me a list of names, or I'm getting these emails of people interested, but they're not showing up to my door. And it was like this weird thing of like, yeah, I don't know your business on how to sell like your actual services. I know how to drive interest to it. You have to pick up the phone and call them or try to engage with them and book an appointment. And I ran into this pivotal point with my company of like, do I have to ramp up a sales team because our churn number, we're losing customers as fast as we're gaining them. So I need to ramp it up on that side. Or do I spend time and understand why my customers are leaving and really turning into more of a consulting company? And so I decided to go the route of being a consulting firm. And we were actually helping businesses, like how can they manage their contacts, their leads, and really grow their businesses from A to Z. And at that time, my team, we basically created this infrastructure. You mentioned Zapier, and it was like learning APIs, coding things to connecting 15 different applications to help the management of these businesses so that when leads and opportunities come in, how do you reach back out to them? How do you track it? When the lead comes back in, how do you make sure that conversation is fruitful to get to an outcome? And in many cases, that outcome was like booking an appointment or getting a sale or something. What happens after that experience? You got to get reviews and things like that. So we built this crazy infrastructure. And what was crazy about my journey in the agency space, I mean, we had about 25 team members, about 200 clients at its peak. I received a random phone call from one of my customers who were saying, hey, I got approached by these two guys. They're launching a new software and they're asking me questions I don't know, like how to log into things. You're my marketing guy, Robin. Can you talk to them? Got on a call with them and got them set up on what they needed and just started talking to them. And they were building a reputation management application. And through that conversation, I was like, well, what does your software do? Here's what I'm doing in my business. And I remember we had a picture of the whiteboard of like this crazy schematic of what we're doing in our business. Ran in there, took a picture and sent it to them. It's like, well, what do you guys think? And I'm like, well, this is really cool. It's like, yeah, well, just hypothetically, like, what would it take to build something like, because there's nothing online that has it. And now I have a little bit of a development background, built stuff in the past, but I was just like, what do you guys think? And both Sean and Varun were like, give us a couple of days, we'll call you back. And I thought they were kicking me off the phone and, you never know who you're
They're just being nice.
Yeah, it's being nice. Just give me, this guy just won't leave us alone. And, they could be working for Megacorp, right? Like, so I don't know who these guys are. He's just a project manager. And crazy enough, Sean called me 2 or 3 days later and was like, hey, do you mind getting on a Zoom call? I'm going to show you something. And I remember when he called me, I was driving to the office. It was like 8 a.m. here in Dallas, driving to my office, and yeah, give me like 20 minutes and I'll call you back. And of course I forget to call him back, getting my coffee and, just getting my day going. He called me back 2 hours later. He's like, hey, where are you at? You told me you're going to call me back. Jumped on the computer and they had built out kind of the version 1 of what high level is today.
Of what your whiteboard showed?
Yeah, basically. Exactly. And at that point it was, the leads coming into some sort of database, kind of an initial version of CRM. You could do some basic automations and communicate back and forth from a communications perspective, the conversations aspect into it. And then we were talking about building a calendar tool at that time. And then, how do we do some automation stuff there? But it was a very initial version of high level. Rolled it into a couple of customers that I had internally, and amazing success. And then it was like, let's get to all my customers. And I just went back to Sean and Varun saying, hey, this is incredible. I owe a lot to you guys. You guys solved a major problem for me. Can I get it out to other agencies kind of dealing with the same problem or other business? And
you wanted to resell it basically?
No, I was just like, I'll refer them to you. Like you guys,
you were just like an evangelist.
I was just so happy that they saw something so important for my business. And I know other businesses dealing with it. So go talk to them. And then they're like, yeah, go ahead. And from that point on, I just kept referring more and more people to them. And, we ended up getting invited to a conference to speak. And they're like, Robin, everyone knows you in that space. So why don't you come and then invite Sean? So Sean and I flew out there in San Diego, and Varun, who's on the other side in Qatar, couldn't make it. But we met for the first time, literally on the flight there. I'm creating a landing, kind of the first website, this landing page and stuff so that we can collect orders. We get there, we present what high level is, and everybody in the room loved it. It was amazing. And then,
what was this conference?
It was like a small business conference, about 20 people in person and 20 people virtually. It was, just
that's it.
Business coach. So it was really small. So we had no idea what to expect. We've never really presented at, anything like that. It's a new product. We just did a demo in person. And I remember we were trying to sit back down. People called us back up like, no, come back up here. We got more questions. And then, people started asking us questions. Does it do this? What about this? Where are you guys going with it? And then, people are looking at the website like, okay, hey, do you guys offer any discounts if we buy for a year or anything like that? And it's like, I remember looking at each other, and then Varun's on the screen behind us on Zoom, and we're just like, sure, we'll do it. And I'm like sneaking my way back to the computer, like adding new products into the website. What's crazy, we're now 7 years later, we're about to hit 100,000 customers worldwide, about 1,700 employees, representing about 2.5 to 3 million businesses, 5 million users worldwide. Like the numbers are just insane, but it all came from, just word of mouth, because we never really did true sales and marketing. It was just provide as much good value as we can to our customers. And what happened to me in my experience of like, wow, this solved a major problem, I want to tell other people about it. That's been our motto and our philosophy since the beginning. And that's honestly how we're here today.
All right. So let me see if I can recap this. So you had a marketing agency with a couple hundred customers, presumably doing great, right? I mean, 23 employees for a marketing agency is awesome, but you kind of became a victim of your own success because you were acquiring leads for your customers, but then they didn't know what to do with them. So they were churning, but you were doing your job. So you're exactly. Like, okay, I don't want you to churn. So I'm going to help you figure out what to do with these leads. So that kind of pivot helped you acquire 200 customers. And then one of your random customers said, hey, these two guys, they're starting a reputation management platform. That's how they started basically with that one kind of product.
A reputation management and communication tool.
Okay. So you got on the phone with them just to connect APIs or whatever, right? And then you just got to talking and you're like, this is interesting. Here's my vision for your product. I think there's actually much more to it than this. And, which people say all the time. And it's like, oh, cool. Thanks, kid. Okay. Have a nice day. Yeah, we'll talk later. But instead they're like, this is brilliant. Yes. And then they just built it. And then you're like, okay, this is amazing. I want to share it with the world. And you did. And then that in turn added so much value to them that they went to a conference to present and they're like, shoot, let's get Robin over here. He knows the product better than we do. And you weren't even like a part of high level, right?
No, I mean, like I said, I just enjoyed the journey
at that point.
Like that. Yeah. I've always had kind of the mantra of you're just going to do stuff for free. And as long as you do good stuff for free, things will come back tenfold if you provide good value. It's honestly how I started the marketing agency, right? So that was just my whole thing. Like, I don't know where this is going to go or anything, but I'm just enjoying it. And if people pay me along the way, that's great too. We just kept going. And it was like, honestly, a good year and a half before we decided to actually legitimize the company of like formalize, because it was just all beta test, like just threw a product up and wow, people are buying it. We never thought of like, let's slow down and like formalize the company. And at that point, Sean and Varun asked me to officially on paper join the company and become a co-founder of it.
So who was building out all the tech? Was it Sean and or Varun?
Both of them. They both have an engineering background as well.
Okay. And then what was the revenue model in those early days? How much were you charging?
It's same as what it is today. We have $97 a month for one location, unlimited for $297.
What about it, like at that conference, what was the feature that just blew people's minds? Like, how was it so much different from like the HubSpots and the ClickFunnels of the world?
One aspect behind it was we took a lot of different tools. Like at that point, it was leads come in. And so you would have to figure out some crazy way through Zapier to like pump it to a Google Sheet. And then, well, you needed to do text messaging. So you need to pump it out to another texting tool. The interesting thing about that is the cost of some of these third-party texting tools was so...
Like Twilio?
No, not actually Twilio, but like think of the software applications that sit on top of it, like a Scipio or like a CallRail or...
Yeah.
Like they charge a premium on top of Twilio. So what we said within our software is, well, we're going to hook up to Twilio because we know that's one of the largest back-end providers. We'll just give it to you at cost. Like that was our whole model. So it's like, instead of you spending $50,000.
It's Costco.
Yeah.
We're just like a Costco model.
We're going to give it to you a wholesale rate. And actually you talk about the Costco, that is actually our business model. It's you pay for high level, which is the membership fee. And then we're going to give you all these tools, super inexpensive or cheap or free, and give you the best value there. And we're just creating this massive store of different products. And so that was the initial stuff that we built. And then, we quickly rolled out the opportunities board, which a lot of people were leveraging Trello at the time. Like that was the hot product to put, what the opportunity board was, or Pipedrive, which is
Pipedrive. Yep.
And then it was, instead of using Calendly, we have it built into software. So just from those 4 or 5 tools, everyone in the room was like, you're telling me it's just one click, you set up a customer and all of this tech stack is there and I get to save money. Like that was kind of the big aha moment for everybody there.
Yeah. Well, like, geez, I pay like $300 a month for Zapier. I've used Pipedrive in the past. I've used Trello in the past. Calendly really adds up. We're like $18 a user and then per team. What's crazy for me about High Level that just broke my frame is my entire life I've been saying, if you're everything to everyone, then you're nobody to no one. You can't be the jack of all trades, master of none, yada, yada, yada. And like I log in and you're doing all those things and well, like, so how are you able to break that mold, like the stereotype?
One of the things that we talk about, technology, mostly in this space, is becoming a commodity. It's like corn. The innovation curve has slowed down at such a level that it's more about the execution of it. Like there's
and the distribution.
Yeah. And so for us, it's, when a contact comes into a CRM, it doesn't matter what CRM tool that's out in the world. It's all doing the same thing. You can see the contact record and all there's nothing crazy about it. Of course there's visual differences and things like that, but it's the same. And so I think, no one was clamoring when we came out of yet another CRM tool. It was just the fact that we consolidated essentially all the different, things at the grocery store. We just put it all into one place.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the unique thing. I think just, globally speaking, in software 10, 15 years ago, and to what you're representing, it was like, you need to be the best of one thing and the one thing only and be the premier product behind it. But, I think we were on the cutting edge of consolidating it. And now you see a lot of these tools that were once the best at what they are now starting to go back saying, we're losing. We need to now start building these other functions and tools. So I think just as a world, we're starting to figure out how do you consolidate as much as possible, have it for an inexpensive price. And then the implementation cost, you mentioned having different team members and stuff like that. You got 6 different tools. And when it doesn't work and you got to teach them all the different tools, that's actually costly. And you just don't even realize that how much you're spending from a time perspective and focusing on that. So, all those things is what makes us special.
What's the 80-20 of what you guys offer? Like, what are people using the most?
I love the 80-20 rule. And that's what we think about from a feature set.
It's everywhere.
New product, right? 80% of the feature set is actually 20% of what you build out. So it works really well there. For us, it's definitely the top of funnel. So when leads come in, so you have the CRM function, doing the automations, and then the funnel builder, which, if you think about it, you got to have a website up any way that you think about it. It needs to be able to collect data. And then from there, when you collect the data, it needs to do something. That is really the 3 pieces that really pivot out to everything else in the software.
Okay. Is your SMS feature growing in popularity?
Oh, 100%. And so that's one of the biggest products here in the United States. Now, I will say, as the larger that we've gotten, we're starting to see a larger contingency internationally of small businesses getting onto the platform. And WhatsApp is the bigger player there. So we're seeing a lot of growth on that front. And SMS is getting more costly worldwide, and it's becoming very much more restrictive.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, there's two types of bad actors. You have people who are going out with good intention, but are spamming people for their product and services with massive paragraphs, which no one wants to hear. And then you have the actual bad actors, which coming out with bad intention, where they're trying to do the scans and things like that. And so all the providers are trying to figure out how to stop it. And, it's now increasing charges or just making it more challenging to do it. So WhatsApp is becoming very popular. Same with Messenger, Facebook Messenger as well.
So of your 100,000 plus customers, roughly what percentage of them are end users versus white label partners / agencies?
Yeah, so we call the white label partners and agencies, put them in a bucket of being SaaSpreneurs.
That's like your awards category.
Yeah, and it's basically like, you're coming into our platform, it's going to be one to many, and you're trying to represent yourself as being a software provider from the outcome. So we call that SaaSpreneurs. That's probably about 60 to 65% of our customers today. It used to be a lot higher. I mean, closer to 90% of our customers, if not even higher, but it's slowly decreasing because what's happening is a lot of small businesses are coming to us who are really taking on their own operations and marketing themselves, or they've graduated out of the SaaSpreneurs.
They were introduced to High Level through their agency, and now they want to do it themselves.
They want to do it. And what's fun about it is like, I was working on this agency. I see the value of it. I wanted the agency to do more, but they're too busy trying to acquire new customers. So I worked out a deal with them. I'm coming straight to High Level, and they're trying to now leverage it. They hire someone internally and they start using it for their own business. And then over time, they're like, you know what? I love this model so much. I now want to become a SaaSpreneur and go tell my friends at resell.com. So it's really fun to watch what that's happening. And so like more small businesses are coming to us kind of in this dual fold situation now.
Well, as an entrepreneur myself, like it's so hard to learn a really cool piece of software and then not want to like build a business on that. Like you learn it for your own use, and then you're like, oh man, it gets really tempting. Like, I could charge $1,000 a month for this, huh?
Yeah. It's like I see the business model, and it's like I have a little bit of extra time that I can give that might want it. It's a little side money, and then it just turns into a thing, right?
Yeah, it's like I'm kind of sick of cleaning pools all day. Like, I could just hop on demos and charge $1,000 a month.
Yeah, that's the fun part about it. I think to the core of High Level, it allows people to operationalize their business that they thought wasn't even possible. Like that pool cleaner example that you gave. It's you're waking up super early and you're working the list of places you got to go, all the houses, and then you try to hire more people and things like that in that daily grind. And you just think it's like, it's just a labor rich business, and that's the business I'm in. But then when you start not working in the business, but working on the business, and you start seeing how it can be operationalized, you realize that your life can be a lot easier. And it's like, well, I can keep my existing business and maybe do something else here. So I think that is the fun part about, operationalizing business.
Are you seeing business owners that do that just abandon their original business altogether and just being agency owners?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely happens. I haven't seen a lot where they just end up giving up their business. I think they kind of look at it as, I've operationalized my business. I have now a new team member who is now going to own kind of the operational side of it. But now I want to be a little bit of an evangelist of what I built.
So video is cool, but you know what's better? Long form audio via podcast and my newsletter, tkopod.com. Go there to subscribe for free to my newsletter. It's 1 email a week, very tactical. And then go to my audio podcast, 3 episodes a week, stuff like this. You're going to love it. All free, no sleazy sales pitch, tkopod.com.
So now I want to be more like a business consultant or implement this for other businesses because, I've seen the model and I know that it's possible there. And so we are seeing a lot of that, which is really fun to see.
So if someone approaches you and says, Robin, I want to start an agency on a High Level, I'm sold. Tell me what to do. Like, what product do I offer to what market? Like, am I doing SMS automation to HVAC guys, or what's like the least path of resistance to starting an agency on High Level?
Yeah. So prior to this year, what I would tell people is walk out of your house, go to any small business that you can just walk into, Main Street, USA, and just say, I want to put a chat widget on your website and put a form on your website. Those are two things that I can collect leads on very quickly. And what
For free? Like,
I mean, I've always been the person of lead for free. And what I
yeah.
would always do is like give you a little taste of it. And then I come back and be like, hey, I've been doing this for free. What'd you think? And if you like it, I'm thinking about charging X amount of dollars, but what would you pay me? And that's actually how I do market research on figuring out like, here's what my vision of the price, but what you're willing to pay. Some people, oh, you're going to charge $500. I mean, you started for free, and I know you're starting out. Yeah, I'll pay you $200. Like, perfect. I would collect that revenue, and now I kind of knew like what the market would bear, right?
I do the same thing. It's like, I want you to tell me an answer. I will not hold this against you. I promise. I'm going to charge you $100 a month for this, which is like below my cost. Like, it's unsustainable, but like, I'm learning. Be honest. Based on the value you've seen me add, what would you pay? And I'm going to use that to charge other people. So it's like, wink, wink. I'm not going to charge you, but what is it worth genuinely? And I will charge you $100. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. And then, what I would do is I've always had this thing of like, I want to almost make you feel guilty of me doing hard work on your behalf. Yeah. And so that in that same situation,
they're indebted.
Yeah. And they've already told me what they're willing to pay. So they're almost like, fine, Robin, here's the $200 that I told you I'd pay. Like you killed it. So keep going. And then I would just take that as a reference to go to, go to the next business and say, I'm working with the street, and Sally over here is also using me and they're paying this much. You can call them if you'd like. Would you like to get my services? So that's what I would do to scale it. But in the business today, I think one of the big things is doing missed call AI. So when somebody calls a business after hours, it is very costly because there are very important leads that come through after hours and no one's answering it. So you're missing the opportunities there. And if you were to hire a company, the call centers and stuff like that become very costly as well. Well, with High Level, we actually built a lot of AI tools. And so, there's this concept of missed call text back. So if someone called and you could text them back saying, hey, sorry, we're after hours. How can I help you? And at least you're keeping that lead active. But now if someone's making an actual call with AI and the sophistication that it's there, you can actually have a full-on conversation and drive that person to the outcome that you would ultimately have to do via text or whatever. And we're actually seeing a significant response rate into it, mostly with the outcome, like booking an appointment or, getting it to a salesperson or whatever. But I think it's so cutting edge. And, just when you use that term AI, walking out to that business and just saying, I want to implement AI into your business, and it's something tangible that they understand, you're going to get sales right out the gate because no one else is really trying to help the small business on AI. It's always about the big companies and enterprises that I think most business owners are seeing.
So before this AI answering service, you would have said form and a chatbot on the website.
Yeah,
kind of get your foot in.
And then, sorry, the third one was the missed call text back. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very tactically speaking, how should someone approach that business owner? Is it literally walking into a business? Is it a cold call, a text? What have you seen be the most effective, not just for you, but for your customers?
All tactics work. I think that's something that's important for everyone listening. You'll hear people they'll give you strategies on how to do cold calling and how to talk to businesses or email, you could send cold emails out to people or Instagram DMs, all those things work, but it is a little bit of it is hard work because you're going to get a lot of no's before you get the yes. Now, for me, it's always been, I love looking people in the eyes. I love, when I have a one-on-one conversation, I want you to feel my passion because that's the passion I'm going to put in my delivery. So for me, it was literally just walk up to businesses that I either knew or had a small relationship or I knew the owner or something like that. So then once I expanded that network, there's a random, clothing store down the street. Let me just walk in and see who I can get a hold of. And just, can I talk to you about your business? I looked on your website, on my phone, you're missing these things. Can I do it for free? And if I get results,
then we'll talk.
Yeah, then we'll talk. And, that's where I get into that pitch of hypothetically, if I were to charge for this service, what would you pay? And I'm thinking about this and, kind of work it down that way. But more, it's just, how do you get the conversation? And, for me, I remember at that time starting the agency, I had to kind of build the strength to kind of say, I needed to go chase more no's. And it was just I'm expecting a no here, but I tried. And so I got those cycles in. And then over time, you just build that confidence of I got it. Yes. What did I say there? How do I do this again? Right. And then you start chasing
the dog that caught the car.
Exactly.
Chase more no's. I like that phrase. That I need to buy that domain name. So let's say, what if they have a website that just doesn't get much traffic and you install the widget in the chatbot and nothing happens? Or the second question is, What then? You install it and then they do get traffic, they do get leads. What's the next step?
In my experience with mostly long businesses that's been around, in local towns and things like that, anytime that I put the chat widget and, all the tools on the website and the missed call text back, they actually got a decent amount of traffic that they just didn't even know. Like a lot of people are Googling for this business and trying to go to their website to find them the phone, like the local plumber or the pizza shop or whatever. People are always looking out for them because they just have that local authority. I'm not saying to go to the big, franchisees, like the localist businesses. They've been around for a while. People know them and they're just trying to figure out how to get in contact. So I've always had success on that front. Now for a few that don't have enough traffic or whatever, that's where, I just come into that business and saying, look, you're not getting a lot of traffic. That's why there's not anything going on. But would you allow me to actually run some traffic for you? And this is where I would, try to partner with somebody and resell their services or try to figure out how to compensate another person who's an expert in driving traffic, whether it's Google ads or things of that nature. Now, if you don't have that relationship, it's okay. Just say, I tried, right? And then I would just leave the tools there because there's no cost to me. Walk to the next business. But like I said, my hit rate was over 85, 90% walking into a local business, the local furniture store that's been there for 10 years. They just get traffic and they just don't realize that the traffic exists. And, you got to kind of coach them through like, hey, you got a lead in there, call them.
Yeah.
People just be so fascinated and surprised by it.
So are you saying your hit rate, 85%, that was like your close rate when cold contacting in person, or that was the percentage of people that had traffic to their site?
That was my success rate of them having traffic on their site. My close rate was probably, 1 out of every 25, mostly when I was starting, like 1 out of 25 customers who'd be willing to give me a shot. But that progressively got better, once you have more testimonials and being like, I talked to Bob, I talked to Sally and all that. And then over time, there's levels to it, right? After you walk out to a couple of businesses, people start telling you like, hey, I see what you're doing. You should go talk to the Chamber of Commerce. And then you start getting in front of that network. And then somebody in there will invite you to something else, right? Like, but it's just, a lot of it is just getting the cycles in. Just keep trying to talk to more people and have those conversations.
What kind of price point could you be able to charge for this? Like not to start, but like to finish at?
The crazy part about it is I know customers that are selling it for tens of thousands of dollars a month.
What?
Yeah. Mostly when you get into businesses that have just high revenue, like you got to put in a perspective of one lead that you're able to provide to this company could be massive. So like in the pool space, right? If you're able to take a lead and they're able to convert on a pool, that pool project could be anywhere from 50 to 100,000, maybe even $500,000. So, being able to say, oh, I'm only charging $50 a month, right? That balance doesn't really jive over time. Now, when you're starting out initially, yes, you're just trying to figure out pricing models. But once you build that confidence, it's like, I'm going to go to every pool company and show them the model that here's the reason I'm charging $3,000 a month or $5,000 or $10,000 a month. Because I know that the average pool company, when I put this widget on or missed calls or whatever, 20 calls in a month,
close 5 of them.
Yeah. Like you just run the math of it and just, that's why I charge this much, because my value is so important to your business that you were missing out on this whole time.
Well, people don't realize how undercharging can do them more harm than good because of the perceived lack of value in the price. So we're both on the same page. You start cheap, dirt cheap, embarrassingly cheap, but don't finish there, right?
Yeah. Do not finish there. Feel comfortable to incrementally go up. And, it is a slow approach and there's a little bit of internal conflict that you're probably dealing with of like, will people pay for this?
I like this guy.
Yeah.
I don't want to offend him.
Yeah. These are the mental battles that every entrepreneur deals with, but you need to figure out ways to continue charging more. And the fun thing about high level that is, it's very similar to the Costco model of you come in and you can charge your customers a platform fee. But on the other side of it is we give you access to companies to resell as well. So think of like the text messaging and the emailing, things like that. You as the person who is high level offering it to other businesses, you have a little slider that says, I want to charge my customer maybe 4x the cost of this product. So like texting is like 0.00675 cents per message, fractions of a penny. And so being able to say like half a penny, you get to win on that delta. And so every time that the customer spends $20, you can make $5 off of it without having to change your base fee. And so all in all, you may end up making the $3,000 to $4,000 or $5,000 a month But at the end of the day, it's, how do you continue to figure out expanding your customer's wallet, making sure that they make money, and you should be able to make money on the back end as well.
What about a pay per lead model? Do you have guys successful with that?
We definitely have guys that are successful with it. I think the challenge with pay per lead is that I've seen businesses tend to turn it on and then turn it off, right? Like for whatever reason, they just don't consistently buy the leads over and over again.
You say your customers, like in your platform, that's what you're seeing, or
no, sorry, like as an agency, if you're selling the pay per lead model to the small business down the street, usually people are like, I have this fixed budget. I've done the math. So that equals about, 45 leads. And then once they hit that point, they typically stop because they're like, well, I paid for this, or I mentally prepaid for it, whether it's upfront or just in my mind. And then it's like, well, I've already made an X amount of investment. Let me see if I can work these leads. And the problem is they don't do a good job in working it and all that. And so it's more about the outcome for me, not so much of just the lead and then good luck.
It's no different than Facebook or Google ads. Like, I'll run a campaign, 100 a day, 1,000 a day. And then it's like, okay, this is working, but let's catch up.
Let me slow down.
Pause it.
Right.
And then a lot of times I never restart it because something happens. Right.
Yep.
So you're saying like, there are exceptions to everything, but on the whole, flat fee per month is the way to go.
And I think just as, think about life in general, right? Like, don't you like to have just your Netflix bill? Like you like to have it just $9 a month. And then when they try to do the price increase, it hurts a little bit, but you end up sucking it up because I know for the next 12 months, it's going to be this fixed rate. When you have something that's utilization based, you need to make sure that it is being used for a positive outcome. If it's just used for something that is unknown on how well it's going to do, then it feels like a tax versus an investment, right? And so that's kind of the trade-off that you got to think through.
Okay, I just had this idea, like, you don't know what I would give, Robin, to export all your customers. You're like having anxiety, just me even saying that. Export all your customers or your customers' customers and run a pivot table of all the industries that your agency or your SaaSpreneurs have customers in, and then scrape every single small business in America, 30 million of them, and look at the percentages, right? Like, wow, okay, HVAC is the most popular home service, but that's only the 17th most popular home service that our SaaSpreneurs have, or, you know what I'm saying? I would love to see those inefficiencies because that's going to tell me I need to launch a marketing agency in, I'm randomly making this up, concrete ceiling, because there's 1,000 concrete ceiling companies in the United States and 400 of them are on high level. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So we definitely look at that data and I'll kind of tell you kind of the highlights of what you're saying. Like the number one types of businesses that come into high level from a volume perspective or percentage are the independent business owners. So think of like insurance agents, real estate agents, mortgage, where they're solopreneurs in many ways.
Prosumers.
Yeah.
You call them?
Think of you as an agency or someone who wants to start a SaaS company or whatever. It's very easy to have a conversation with that person. And it's like, well, let me see if I can help you grow your business. Now, the step above that, after you get into those independent things, is actually fitness. Fitness is actually pretty popular, and sorry, coming back to the individual side, you have real estate as number one, mortgage, so you have those categories. Then you get into fitness, and then home services is a great one as well. And the fun thing about home services, you do have kind of the independent owners, but they scale up so quickly because they end up having to create a network, right? Like plumber who's coming in and they pick up a big job, they might be an independent owner, but they need to partner with the sheetrock guy or the other framing, woman who's the expert in that, and then designers and stuff like that. So they have kind of access to build a big team, but they're still an independent owner themselves. So you can have that conversation, but know that, the revenue that they're able to bring in is actually significant enough. Challenge with the kind of the smaller, the real estate agent and things like that, just as a whole, I think there's a lot of potential for real estate agents, but not every real estate, a lot of people get it as a side gig or, they
don't have a budget.
I think the statistic for a lot of real estate agents is that they will do a half transaction in their whole lifetime of doing a real estate deal. And it's only because it was like a referral of their own property that they were a part of. Outside of that, they really don't pursue it. It's a great idea. It's just a lot of work. And then they're coming off as a secondary part-time job, not as a full-time. So there's different levels on that.
Why not basically going to Zillow to all of their real estate agents and scrape the ones by number of reviews? right? And just presume whoever has a lot of reviews, they're a high volume agent. I'm going to only target them.
Yeah. Yeah. Those are the ones that, typically have a team themselves. They're
Mm-hmm.
willing to spend a little bit more. They understand the
Yeah.
value of leads. They understand the value in what you're trying to do. And so I think that's a great, I never thought of, scraping things to kind of sort by rank that way.
Now, what about on a percentage basis? Because there are 2 million real estate agents, hundreds of thousands of mortgage brokers or attorneys or insurance agents. Is there any kind of random home service niche or local business, gymnastics studios, art, like whatever, that you just kind of keep seeing anecdotally? You're like, man, those people are really willing to pay for agency services.
Definitely in the home services space, roofers are a big one. I think
They've got a budget for it.
yeah, solar's another one. They have a budget, and it's kind of what we were talking about earlier, right? Like they're willing to pay knowing that the outcome is significant, right? And so, roofing, its average ticket size is what I'm sure, like 15,000 to 50,000. Construction remodelers is a popular one. And then, yeah, in the home service, pool companies, plumbers, like all home services do extremely well because, while they do some small jobs here and there, like the AC repair person is probably doing small jobs, but what they're really looking for is when someone needs a replacement, $100 service job to now $10,000 project.
Mm-hmm.
And so the opportunities just get bigger over time.
So high ticket, definitely the way to go.
Yeah, finding businesses who have a high ticket and need a lot of production to make it meaningful, and you can kind of see that they're doing a lot of production, would be the best way for me to, is this a business that I want to work with?
Okay, so that was the idea for a year or so ago. Widget, a form, the AI answering service. What about today? Is that changed?
The only thing that I would change is just instead of the missed call text back, changing it to missed call AI.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that angle a lot better. One is, I think it solves a better use case than just doing a missed call text back. Because what happens is in the missed call text back world, someone calls the business doesn't answer. And as a consumer, when you're searching for a business, you go down the Google listings, right? The top 3 businesses. And the first person to answer is when I stop. When I do the missed call text back, the premise there and what made it so great is somebody calls the business, no one answers. The person hangs up and they're starting to look at the next result to call them. But all of a sudden you get the pattern interrupt. You get a text message saying, hey, sorry, we missed your call. How can I help you? Now, the problem there is the person responds back saying, hey, my toilet is overflowing or whatever it is. No one is there to then keep the conversation going as a small business or doing a good job. Now, on the voice side of it, remember, they picked up the phone and called. So now if you have an AI bot, and it's a really good AI bot, I mean, a lot of the new AI stuff that we're rolling out feels like a human. I mean, it's just really incredible.
Yeah.
And it's, oh yeah, okay, so let me go ahead and collect your address. Let me go ahead and get all the details. So it's a little bit more the intent is so strong, and then you actually get the outcome, right? Which is booking the appointment or saying that I got your address. We're gonna have someone call you back immediately. Basically doing that next leg of the sales flow. And so that's what makes the AI part so big. And like I said, it's also sexy right now.
Have you heard of any of your SaaSpreneurs launching like a high level implementation agency where, like, let's say a medium-sized company is spending $4,000 a month on HubSpot, and they kind of move in there, transfer everything over, train the team? Is that a thing?
That is a massive thing. And actually internally with my team, we're talking about like, what are the different paths of using high level and, kind of in our whole ecosystem. And that is actually one of those budding economies that we have, where it's like third-party consulting companies where their whole job, they're specialized in migrating things over, creating custom development, like really shaping up the automations and how you're using the tool. We've been talking a lot about like, the top of funnel, right? Helping people take leads and how do you get them to book an appointment? But like what these companies are doing is taking, once it gets to a certain stage, we needed to send out an invoice and send out a PDF. And once they sign the PDF, we needed to put it into our other system to model out what it needs to do from a costing perspective. And then we need to send it back to high level so you can see, kind of produce the estimate, like just doing all sorts of crazy operational things. And so this is a crazy market. And so what we've been doing to support it is actually we created a certified directory. So create a certified program.
That was my next question.
Yeah. So
if you're going to do something like that.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's been taken off and it's doing incredibly well, where you need to sign up to it. We want one to have the barrier of entry of like someone who's going to take it seriously. It's low cost. It's $100 a month. And it's about 30 to 40 hours of content that you go through to get trained. You take a test. And if you pass that first test, you then have to take a second test that's actually being proctored by someone at high level. So we're actually watching you on Zoom. We give you a case study and we want to see you build it, because we don't want people to just blow through it and get a fake and walk around on Main Street. If we're going to put our name behind you, we're going to make sure that you're legit. And then from there, we actually put you on a public directory, and it actually,
you give them customers.
We give them leads, we give them customers, and the certification is so real that it expires. And so if you're out in the world saying that I'm certified, well, that employer can look it up saying, oh yeah, you were certified years ago. You're not certified now. So you don't know the newest, latest and greatest technology. So it gives it a lot of validation. And so people really like it. And yeah, that directory is starting to generate leads of businesses. My vision has always been Salesforce has grown to this massive level and done incredibly well. And now
just going to talk about that.
Certified, Salesforce developers, and people, it's now an economy. So my goal is, how do I turn our certification program so that when I go to Indeed or jobs.com, people are asking for, I need someone certified in high level. And that's creating massive salary opportunities and things like that. And so that's where we're really trying to take it. But right now, the consulting companies is kind of the first level into it. And we're trying to support them with the certified program.
People don't realize there are 8 and 9 plus figure companies out there that just implement Salesforce or Cisco or NetSuite, or you're saying like you're getting to that point where you're starting your own marketplace for that, right?
100%. The world exists, that, that piece of our economy exists today. The amount that they're commanding and the amount that they're supporting is just getting larger and larger. That, these groups, these individuals are starting to make significant amount of salaries and jobs, as well as creating massive agencies in this development and implementation world. But then the businesses that they're supporting, it's not, sure, there's the local businesses that they're supporting and stuff like that, but now they're getting into mid-market businesses, the $100 million companies, the $500 million, billion-dollar companies are also looking for, these resources. And, the power of high level plus the consulting group, people don't care about what the technology is underlying. It's about the outcome. So if you can get to the outcome, they're willing to pay for it. They don't care what it's going to take.
So it's in the early days of this directory. Would you say, as of today, is there more demand or more supply? Like, is there more supply of these high-level certified guys, or more demand from companies looking for guys like that?
Right now, we're at the perfect balance where there's a good amount of supply and we're matching up the demand. Right now, one of the challenges on our side is we didn't realize how fast it was going to take off. Mm-hmm. And one of the biggest constraints that we have is the live proctoring. So being able to make sure that we can keep up with that volume is just one of the challenges that we're working through. We'll solve it in the next month or two. But I think the second half of this year, that's going to be one of our big pushes, is really making the certified program a real thing, from a public perspective. And there's going to be two. One is you can actually get certified and be in the marketplace so that you can receive leads and opportunities. And we want to help you get jobs and opportunities, create businesses that way. But then also it's having the certified program where, Chris, maybe for one of your businesses, you hire somebody and you want them to just learn the platform. They can go to the certified program and maybe they don't need to get tested and all that. You just want to make sure that they get the right training.
They go there to learn.
Yeah, exactly. And so now it's, how do we evangelize high level for all the end users? And so that's really where I want to kind of take the next stage of that certified program.
So if there's someone out there wanting to already start a marketing agency on high level, is it fair to say that they could kind of hedge their bets and potentially get leads from 2 different places if they got certified through you and listed on your directory? Like, they could do that, maybe get a lead or 2 every now and then while they go try to find their own customers at the same time?
Yeah, definitely. The only caveat that I will say is, it's one thing to get the leads. There is the fear of execution that kind of stop a lot of new entrepreneurs. Mostly
close it.
To some, they might close it, but then they get into analysis paralysis to making sure that they set up this perfect thing. And so my thing, if I was going to advise anyone, is like, yes, you have that as maybe your next phase of going to the certified program and getting leads that way, but just go find the easy layups and progressively work your way up. Because remember, it's about the outcome, not about how you build it. But I feel like when you go to the certified program, you get in your own head. The expectations are so high on execution because of the complex needs and stuff like that.
Do you have any SaaSpreneurs using paid ads to just crank through new customers if they don't want to go door to door?
Oh yeah. I mean, I think the challenge is, when you're starting up, it's the capital to put up ads. But once you have revenue and it, we see it quite a bit with a lot of people who come from traditional marketing agencies who know how to run Facebook ads, so the CPLs, the CAC cost, how much to reinvest back in. But yeah, there's a ton of people who focus on that. And what they do is they're not trying to sell the product to anybody and everybody. They try to get hyper focused with with an angle, right? Like I'm taking what I built within High Level, I'm going to specialize it for dentist. So now you're
Yep.
just running ads to go find more dentists or plumbers or whatever industry.
I did a video on you guys I went to your SaaSpreneur Awards site and I just started reverse engineering these guys making $100,000 a month, $1 million a month. And one of them was like chiropractic leads for Spanish speaking chiropractors making like 130 grand a month.
Massive.
What?
Yeah. And it's kind of the same thing, right? Like you actually don't need a lot of customers to make that revenue. You know, you can do that with 20, 30 customers because it's such a specialized market. And, you know, in the chiropractic space, very similar. It's like somebody coming in, the treatment lifetime value of it's in the thousands, right? So if I can help you get one, mostly in the specialized market, and you become the authority into it, you could do incredibly well. And yeah, I mean, it is so surprising for me. And like when I started the company with Sean and Varun, like we had no idea what we were building it like from the outcomes. So hearing stories like that, like it's just mind boggling to me. And it's like, it lights me up when I hear more of these stories and how we're creating these new economies.
How much are like your biggest SaaSpreneurs making per month or year? Top line.
Definitely 8 figures. I mean, I heard one who actually sold, which is awesome, in the high 8 figures. We heard one that's getting into the 9-figure range from an exit perspective, from a valuation perspective, I should say. I think for even, you know, you do a lot of investing. You know, it used to be about so focused on what are the tools that you're using? Do you own it in the IP behind it and stuff? I think now, you know, investors are looking at, does it have a predictable sales model? It's cool. You're using these tools. We understand, you know, the relationships that you have to build it and, you know, and how you're accomplishing it. But really we want to buy the sales model and we're going to put more gas into it to sell it. So the valuations is more about that, not so much about the underlying tech anymore. And so that's why the opportunity is so ripe for people to grow it to a decent size and flip it to the next person. Actually, one example that I got, individual going after dentist and selling it for the dental practices. And he actually approached one dental practice that was a part of a network of 30.
Like a DSO?
Yeah, exactly. And it was, I think one of the dentists or a group of dentists turned it into essentially a private equity firm. And he just picked up 1 dentist, 2 dentists, 3 dentists, 4 dentists, and started making really good money. And then finally, you know, upper management, you know, the organization was like, what is this? You guys are growing. We see the numbers. You guys have grown. What do you guys do? Oh, we're partnered with this guy. Well, they approached him saying, we want to buy you out. And then, you know, now they thought, you know, their thesis was we can buy that marketing agency, that SaaSpreneur software, implement it to all 30, and our business would 10x fold and we don't have to pay their fee. And so he got a massive exit out of it. You know, I think it was like a $6 million exit. And he only had the business for 18 months. And I was like, wow. You just walk away. And that
private equity company will pay more than anyone else because of the value it is to them.
They saw it, right? Like they saw it hand in hand. So, and I think it was like $6 million. And then you need to stay on for another 12 months to help us implement it to all 3. And he backfilled it so that they were able to bring it house. But they were like, the way that he was explaining it to me was like, they think that they can make $30 million by implementing it in all their locations. Plus they're planning on acquiring more. This is just an investment, right?
It's a no-brainer. Yeah. It's like buying one more dental clinic.
That's the crazy part about, you know, how interesting the dynamics of business is changing and the opportunities that's coming up now.
I mean, I love talking about the concept of finding a white whale, right? One big customer that could change your life. And so if I were launching this today, I would probably people don't know there are thousands of franchisors out there, thousands of franchisors and millions of franchisees, right? McDonald's alone, there's 30,000, right? Yep. I would go find, and most franchisors, most people have never heard of, right? Like a random mosquito control franchisor in the Northwest with 24 locations. You know, there's so many out there like that. I would go find a franchisee customer that's part of a small franchisor, like 10 to 30, 40 locations, crush it for them, crush it like the word spreads in the franchise, crush it for someone else, and then get everyone. Like, why would the franchisor not want to literally force all his franchisees to take them on if it's making all of them more money, therefore making the franchisor more money? Now you have 30 customers from one customer, right? Sell the one to sell the 30.
I love that model. And, you know, one caveat that I would say is the larger franchises actually are easier to find a local person who owns a local franchise. you'll hear the objections of like, oh, you can't go to a franchise network because the franchisor restricts using third-party companies and things like that.
Mhm.
But when you just have an entrepreneur who's a part of the franchise, they're not hitting the numbers or whatever, they're scrappy. They're like, I don't care.
Yeah.
I got to make my business work and I'm not getting the support or it's not working. You're able to get into that conversation. Everything else just starts hitting and you actually, that white whale component, right? Sure, you have the 30-40, but if it's a 200%, I've seen a couple of stories like in the fitness space where someone approached one and it was like, just a random location that wasn't doing well. And then that person had a little bit of a support group of other people kind of in that same thing. Overall, the franchise network is great, but the small network of the small ones, that individual picked up 200 locations out of 1,000.
Wow.
And then he got a call from corporate saying, we need to talk in a positive way. And the fun thing is, from a leverage perspective, if the top franchisor says you're out, we're taking over, they're pissing off all the locations, right?
Making their lives miserable.
Yeah. And so they're basically saying, we need to partner with you because we see the positivity. And so 100% agree with your approach.
I didn't just like pull that out of thin air. That was just one of the many examples I found reverse engineering your SaaSpreneurs. I found I don't even remember the company. And if I did, I probably wouldn't say them, but it was just some guy that had like an 8-month-old high-level agency. And he was just bragging on LinkedIn to everyone like, hey, we just got our 100th customer, our 500th customer. And I'm like, what the heck? And then I saw they just had this partnership with one franchisor and they're an 8-figure company.
And the fun thing about it, it's like, oh, like what I was saying earlier about the local businesses. Now it's like almost close to heart where it's like, oh, I'm working with Chris who owns this fitness group, which happens to be your fitness group. I got success for him. So that authority level just goes up even higher. So then you just start picking them off one by one. And the fun thing about growing it from a scalability perspective just becomes turnkey. You're just doing the same thing over and over again. The only thing that you're doing is adjusting it for that new address.
Yeah.
Everything else stays the same.
Oh, man. That's so beautiful. Well, we're out of time. You probably need to drive home to your family at this point.
Oh, yeah. No, I lost track of time. It was a great conversation.
Yeah. This was awesome. Thank you for your time, Robin. Obviously, we know where to find you. GoHighLevel.com. When are you going to get the highlevel.com domain name? Like, surely you've been trying.
What's funny is we got GoHighLevel.com when we started because, someone wanted a lot of money. I've reached out periodically throughout the years. Actually, earlier this year, I reached out, all right, it sucks. I don't want to have to do this, but I'm willing to offer a significant amount. No response. And so, we're now leaning into the Go High Level side of things that people just kind of know us that way, even though the official company is high level. It's officially high level, but we're testing it around. Actually, on the website right now, we're split testing. Like if we change it to Go High Level, and we have a different version of it with a piece of tape.
Okay,
it's like handwritten Go on it.
Yeah.
Testing it out to see if it's gonna help us from a split testing perspective. But at the end of the day, it's not about us here at High Level. It's about your brand. I want to see the Chris Corner CRM platform, and you support you with your brand. So call us whatever you want. It really doesn't hurt us at the end of the day.
I just love it when I call you High Level because if you know, you know. I love it when people correct me. They're like, it's Go High Level. I'm like, no, shut up. They just wanted to pay $10 for a domain name, not 10 million.
Yeah, exactly. Right. But like I said, it's fine. We go by anything. You can just say, hey, we love you. That'll work. You don't need to call me my name.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, thank you, Robin. This was awesome.
All right. Well, thank you so much for having me on.
All right. What'd you think? Please share it with a friend and we'll see you next time on the Kerner Office.